School is one of those things that you can't really escape. No matter how much you hate it, no matter how badly you want to break, eventually the alarm goes off, you get out of bed, and you have to do it all over again. Another morning, another hallway. Another class, another assignment you forgot about, another test you probably should have studied for. And after a while, school can start feeling less like something you're simply doing and more like something you're trying to survive. You wake up already tired, spend most of your day surrounded by people, come home with homework waiting for you, and then somehow you're expected to do it all again tomorrow. And the worst part is that everyone acts like this is completely normal. But if you've ever felt overwhelmed by school, you're not lazy, broken, or incapable. Sometimes you're just trying to balance too many things at once. Grades, homework, friends, expectations, teachers, family, your future, and the constant pressure that every little mistake is somehow going to ruin everything. So if you're going into another school year wondering how you're supposed to make it through, the goal shouldn't be to become the perfect student who never gets tired and never falls behind. The goal is to make school manageable. You need systems that make your life easier instead of relying on motivation every single day. The first thing you need to understand is that you do not have to love school to succeed in it. You don't have to wake up every morning excited to go to class. You don't have to convince yourself that every assignment is fun or meaningful. Sometimes school is simply something you have to get through, and that's okay. Stop expecting yourself to feel motivated all the time. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you'll feel productive, and other days you'll stare at an assignment for 20 minutes wondering why you even opened it. What matters is learning how to work even when you don't feel like it, and that starts with making things easier to begin. Instead of telling yourself, I have 3 hours of homework, tell yourself, I'm going to work on this for 10 minutes. 10 minutes sounds much less intimidating than 3 hours. Open the document, write the first sentence, answer the first question, read the first page. Once you start, continuing becomes much easier. A huge part of surviving school is simply avoiding the trap of making everything feel bigger than it actually is. Your brain sees 5 assignments and immediately thinks your entire night is ruined, but assignments are completed one at a time. You don't need to finish everything simultaneously. You just need to figure out what comes next. Another important thing is learning how to actually keep track of what you have to do. You might think you'll remember that assignment that's due Friday, but then Friday arrives and suddenly you're staring at the teacher wondering how you forgot. Write things down. Use a planner, a notes app, a calendar, or whatever system you'll actually use. It doesn't need to be complicated. You just need somewhere reliable to put deadlines. The goal isn't to have the most organized planner in the world. The goal is to stop keeping your entire school life inside your head. When everything exists only in your memory, even small responsibilities can create unnecessary stress. When they're written down, you can actually see what needs to be done, and once you can see it, you can deal with it. But surviving school isn't only about grades. Your mental energy matters too. One of the easiest ways to make school feel 10 times harder is constantly comparing yourself to everyone around you. There will always be someone who gets better grades than you, someone who seems more confident, someone who has more friends, someone who appears to have their entire life figured out, but you're seeing their outside while experiencing your own life from the inside. You see their good moments and your own struggles. That comparison is never going to be fair. Your job isn't to become the smartest person in your school or the most popular person in your grade. Your job is to improve from where you started. If you got a bad grade, that doesn't mean you're stupid. It means you got a bad grade, that's it. You can learn from it, figure out what went wrong, and do better next time. Don't turn one bad result into an entire story about who you are. One test doesn't determine your intelligence. One awkward conversation doesn't determine your social life. One terrible day doesn't determine your entire school year. You need to learn how to separate events from your identity. Something can go wrong without meaning that something is wrong with you. And while we're talking about bad days, you also need to accept that you're going to have them. There will be mornings when you don't want to get out of bed. There will be classes that feel painfully boring. There will be days when you come home completely drained. There will be moments where you feel like you're falling behind everyone else. That's part of being a student. The mistake is thinking that one bad day means the entire week is ruined. If Monday was terrible, Tuesday doesn't have to be. If you failed a test, the next assignment is still waiting for you. If you embarrassed yourself in front of someone, most people probably won't remember it nearly as long as you think they will. Give yourself permission to reset. One of the most useful skills you can develop in school is learning how to start over without making a huge announcement about it. You don't need a new semester. You don't need a Monday. You don't need January 1st. You can reset on a random Wednesday at 4:30 in the afternoon. Clean your desk, put your phone away, finish one assignment, take a shower, go outside for a little while, get some sleep, then wake up tomorrow and try again. You don't need to completely transform your life overnight. Small resets are powerful because they keep a bad moment from turning into a bad month. Another thing you absolutely need to protect is your sleep. It's incredibly tempting to stay up late because you have homework, games, videos, friends, or just because you don't want the day to end. But constantly sacrificing sleep makes everything else harder. Concentration becomes harder. Remembering information becomes harder. Your mood can suffer. Even simple assignments can feel exhausting. Sleep isn't something you earn after finishing everything. It's one of the things that helps you function in the first place. You don't have to create some perfect morning routine with 15 different steps. You just need to stop treating sleep like it's optional. Your future self has to deal with whatever choices you make tonight, so make their life a little easier. And when you get to school, stop trying to make every single minute productive. You are allowed to have breaks. You are allowed to talk to your friends. You are allowed to laugh. You are allowed to have interests outside of school. Your entire identity shouldn't become your grades. School is a part of your life, not your entire life. That's especially important because sometimes students become convinced that getting perfect grades is the only thing that matters. Obviously, doing well in school is valuable, but there is more to growing up than a number on a report card. Learning how to communicate, manage your time, handle disappointment, work with other people, solve problems, and keep going when things don't go your way are all skills you're going to carry with you long after you leave the classroom. So don't spend every day thinking that your entire future depends on one assignment. Do your best, take your responsibilities seriously, but keep things in perspective. And if you genuinely don't understand something, ask for help. This sounds obvious, but so many students would rather sit there confused for 3 weeks than admit they don't understand a concept. Asking for help doesn't make you stupid. It means you're trying to understand. Talk to your teacher, ask a classmate, find another explanation, watch an educational video. Use whatever legitimate resource is available to you. You don't have to figure everything out alone, and you also need to learn when to stop pretending everything is fine. If you're constantly overwhelmed, struggling to keep up, or feeling like school is becoming too much to handle, talk to someone you trust. A parent, guardian, teacher, counselor, or another supportive adult can sometimes help you see solutions that you can't see when you're stuck inside the problem. You don't get extra points for suffering silently. There's nothing impressive about making everything harder than it needs to be. The strongest thing you can do sometimes is admit that you need support. Socially, school can be just as exhausting as academics. You might walk through the hallway and feel like everyone already has their friend group while you're trying to figure out where you belong. But remember that friendships aren't usually created in one dramatic moment. Most friendships happen through repeated small interactions. Sit near someone, ask them about an assignment. Talk about a game, a class, a hobby, or something that happened that day. You don't need to become best friends with everyone. You just need to find a few people you genuinely feel comfortable around, and don't completely change who you are just to fit in. There is a difference between growing as a person and constantly performing a version of yourself that you think other people will accept. The right people won't require you to pretend you're someone else every second you're around them. At the same time, don't expect every interaction to go perfectly. Someone might not like you, someone might misunderstand you, someone might leave you out. It hurts, but it doesn't mean you're unlikable. Sometimes people simply aren't your people. You don't need to win over everyone in your school. That's an impossible goal. Focus on the people who treat you well and learn to walk away from unnecessary drama. School already gives you enough problems without voluntarily creating more. And that's another major part of surviving school. Don't participate in every piece of drama you encounter. You don't need to know every rumor. You don't need to respond to every message. You don't need to argue with everyone who disagrees with you. Sometimes the smartest response is no response. Protect your peace. There will always be another argument, another rumor, another group chat exploding over something that won't matter in a month. Ask yourself whether the problem will matter next week. If the answer is no, don't let it consume your entire day. Your attention is valuable. Spend it on things that actually improve your life. And speaking of attention, your phone can make school significantly harder without you even realizing it. You sit down to do homework, check one notification, open one video, and suddenly 40 minutes disappear. Then you're stressed because you're behind, so you try to work faster, which makes you more frustrated, and eventually you're back on your phone because you don't want to think about the work anymore. Break that cycle. When you need to focus, put the phone somewhere you can't casually reach it. You don't have to throw it across the room forever. Just create enough distance that checking it becomes a conscious decision instead of an automatic habit. You'd be surprised how much work you can finish when your attention isn't being pulled in 5 different directions every 30 seconds. And don't make the mistake of thinking productivity means working constantly. Your brain needs breaks. Work for a while, then step away. Stretch, get some water, eat something. Talk to someone, give yourself a few minutes to breathe, then come back. The goal isn't to punish yourself into productivity. The goal is to create a routine you can actually maintain, because that's ultimately what surviving school comes down to. You need consistency more than intensity. You don't need one insane day where you study for 6 hours and reorganize your entire life. You need hundreds of ordinary days where you do a little bit of what needs to be done. Finish the assignment, study before the test, get enough rest. Ask for help when you need it, take breaks, show up, repeat. That's how progress actually happens. And eventually you'll look back and realize that you made it through another week, then another month, then another semester. The school year that felt impossible in September suddenly becomes the school year that's almost over. And that's something you should remember whenever you're overwhelmed. You don't have to survive the entire school year today. You only have to get through today. Tomorrow will deal with itself when it gets here. If you have a mountain of work, start with one assignment. If you're behind, figure out the next step. If you had a terrible day, let it end. If you got a bad grade, learn from it. If you're lonely, start one conversation. If you're exhausted, give yourself permission to rest. You don't need to have everything figured out right now. You're still learning how to manage your life, and school is part of that process. So don't aim for a perfect school year. Aim for a year where you keep moving forward even when things aren't perfect. You're going to mess up. You're going to procrastinate. You're going to forget things. You're going to have awkward moments. You're going to get grades you aren't proud of. You're going to have days where you feel completely unmotivated. None of that means you failed. It means you're human. The people who make it through aren't the people who never struggle. They're the people who learn how to recover when they do. So if school is starting again and you're already thinking, how am I supposed to survive all of this? Remember this, you don't need to become a completely different person. You just need to make tomorrow slightly easier than today. Take care of yourself, do what you can. Don't compare your entire life to someone else's highlight reel. Don't let one bad day convince you that you're incapable. Keep your responsibilities organized, protect your time, protect your sleep, stay close to people who genuinely care about you, and most importantly, remember that school is temporary. It may feel like your entire world right now, but it isn't. One day you'll walk out of that building for the last time, and all of these ordinary mornings, boring classes, stressful assignments, random conversations, embarrassing moments, and little victories will become memories. So while you're there, don't just try to survive every day. Learn from it, grow from it, find things you enjoy, make memories. And when things get difficult, take it one day at a time. You don't need to conquer the entire year today. You just need to show up tomorrow and take the next step. And maybe one of the biggest things you need to learn is that surviving school doesn't mean making every part of it easy. Some things are simply going to be difficult, and your job isn't to eliminate every difficult moment. Your job is to become better at handling them. There will be a class you don't understand. There will be a teacher whose teaching style doesn't make sense to you. There will be an assignment that seems completely pointless. There will be a test you weren't prepared for. There will be a morning where you look at the clock and realize you have almost no time to get ready. There will be days where everything seems to go wrong at once. When that happens, don't immediately panic. Pause for a second and ask yourself what is actually within your control. You can't control whether a test is difficult. You can't control whether another student likes you. You can't control whether your teacher gives you an assignment you don't want to do. But you can control whether you prepare. You can control whether you ask questions. You can control how you respond when something goes wrong. You can control what you do next. That distinction can completely change how school feels. Because when you constantly focus on things you can't control, you feel powerless. But when you focus on your next action, you regain some control. Maybe your grade isn't where you want it to be. Okay, what can you do about it? Maybe you're behind on assignments. Fine. Which assignment should you start with? Maybe you had a terrible day socially. All right, what can you do tonight that makes tomorrow better? You don't need to solve your entire life in one sitting. You just need to stop letting problems stay vague, turn them into specific actions. I'm failing everything becomes, I need to finish these 2 missing assignments. I'm terrible at this subject becomes, I need to spend 20 minutes reviewing this concept. Nobody likes me becomes, I should talk to someone tomorrow. The more specific a problem becomes, the more manageable it usually feels. Another thing that can make school easier is lowering the amount of friction between you and the things you need to do. If your backpack is always a disaster, clean it out. If you constantly lose papers, create one place for them. If you never know what homework you have, create a simple list. If you always forget your charger, keep a backup where appropriate. If mornings are chaotic, prepare some things the night before. These sound like tiny changes, but tiny problems repeated every single day eventually become huge sources of frustration. Imagine having 10 annoying things happen every morning. You can't find your shoes, you forgot your homework, your backpack is messy, your computer isn't charged, you don't know what you're wearing, and you're rushing out the door. None of these problems individually seem serious, but together they make you start the day stressed. Remove some of those problems the night before and suddenly your morning feels completely different. You don't need an elaborate routine, you just need to make tomorrow slightly easier. And there's another trap you should avoid, waiting until you feel ready. You might tell yourself, I'll start studying when I'm motivated, or I'll organize everything when I have more energy, or I'll start taking school seriously next week. But there will always be a reason to wait. You don't need to feel ready, you need to begin. Sometimes action creates motivation instead of the other way around. You start studying for 5 minutes, and then you realize the material isn't as terrible as you thought. You clean one corner of your room, and suddenly you want to clean the rest. You finish one assignment, and the remaining workload looks less intimidating. Starting is often the hardest part, so make the beginning ridiculously small. Tell yourself you'll read one page, answer one question, write one paragraph, study one concept. Once you're moving, you can decide whether to continue. And if you don't continue, that's still better than doing nothing. You also need to stop thinking that every assignment deserves the same amount of emotional energy. Some assignments matter more than others. Some tests are worth more than others. Some tasks can be finished quickly, while others require serious preparation. Learn to prioritize. If you have 5 things to do, don't randomly pick one just because it's sitting directly in front of you. Look at the deadlines and the importance of each task. Figure out what needs your attention first. This doesn't mean ignoring everything else. It means understanding that your energy is limited. Spend it intelligently. You can also make studying less miserable by changing how you study. Simply staring at notes for an hour doesn't automatically mean you're learning. Try actively recalling information. Explain a concept in your own words. Practice problems. Quiz yourself. Cover your notes and see what you remember. The point isn't to make studying look productive. The point is to actually remember the material. And don't wait until the night before a test if you can avoid it. Even short review sessions spread across multiple days can make preparation feel much less overwhelming than trying to learn everything in one night. You don't have to spend your entire evening studying. A little preparation can prevent a lot of panic later, and when you do have a test coming up, don't spend the entire time thinking about how badly you're going to do. That thought doesn't help you study. Every minute you spend imagining failure is a minute you could have spent preparing. You don't need to guarantee a perfect result. Just increase your chances of doing well by preparing as much as reasonably possible. Then take the test and move on. Don't spend 3 days replaying every answer in your head. Once it's done, it's done. Learn from it if you need to, but don't torture yourself over something you can no longer change. This applies to embarrassing moments too. School can make tiny mistakes feel enormous. You say something weird in class and suddenly you think everyone is going to remember it forever. You stumble over your words, you answer a question incorrectly, you walk into the wrong classroom, you trip in the hallway, you wave at someone who wasn't waving at you. These moments feel huge when you're experiencing them, but most people are focused on their own lives. The person you think is thinking about your embarrassing moment is probably thinking about something embarrassing they did themselves. Give yourself permission to laugh it off and move forward. You don't have to carry every awkward moment with you, and don't let fear of embarrassment prevent you from participating in your own life. Raise your hand even if you aren't completely certain. Talk to someone even if you're nervous. Join something you're interested in. Try something new. You're going to make mistakes either way, so you might as well give yourself opportunities to grow. One day, school will end. That's something people rarely think about while they're in it because every school day feels like another endless repetition. But it isn't endless. The year has a beginning and an end. Your classes have a beginning and an end. Even the stressful periods eventually pass. When you're overwhelmed, zoom out. Ask yourself whether this specific problem will still matter months from now. Sometimes the answer will be yes, and then you should take it seriously. But sometimes the answer is no, and realizing that can help you stop giving temporary problems permanent control over your mood. Your life is bigger than your grades. It's bigger than your social status. It's bigger than one semester. There are so many things you're going to experience outside of school that you can't even imagine yet. So don't let a difficult year convince you that your entire future is already decided. It isn't. You have time to learn. You have time to improve. You have time to make mistakes. You have time to figure yourself out. And honestly, that's one of the most important things school can teach you. Not every lesson comes from a textbook. Sometimes you learn what happens when you procrastinate. Sometimes you learn how important preparation is. Sometimes you learn that certain friendships aren't healthy for you. Sometimes you learn that you actually enjoy a subject you never expected to like. Sometimes you discover a talent because you were forced to try something new. Sometimes you realize that you're stronger than you thought because you made it through a period you genuinely didn't think you could handle. So don't judge your entire school experience only by your grades. Pay attention to what you're learning about yourself, what makes you focused, what distracts you. What kind of people bring out the best in you? What environments make you feel comfortable? What subjects actually interest you? What habits make your days easier? What habits make them harder? School gives you thousands of opportunities to learn these things. You don't have to have all the answers right now. In fact, you probably shouldn't. You're still figuring things out, and that's okay. So when the next school day comes around, don't think about the entire year. Don't think about every assignment you'll ever have. Don't think about every test, every awkward interaction, every early morning, or every stressful week waiting ahead. Wake up, get ready, go to school. Pay attention when you can, do your work, talk to someone, take your breaks, come home, rest, finish what needs to be finished. Then do it again tomorrow. Eventually, tomorrow becomes Friday. Friday becomes the weekend becomes another week becomes another month, and before you realize it, you've made it through another part of the year. That's how you actually survive school. Not by becoming someone who never gets overwhelmed, but by learning what to do when you are overwhelmed. Not by becoming perfect, but by becoming consistent. Not by pretending everything is easy, but by learning that difficult doesn't mean impossible. And when you eventually look back, you might realize that the moments you thought would destroy you were just moments. They passed, you kept going, you learned something, and you became a little more capable because of them. So don't put your entire focus on surviving the next 9 months. Focus on surviving the next day, and when that day is over, focus on the next one. You don't have to be perfect, you don't have to have everything figured out, you just have to keep moving forward. Because sometimes that's what surviving really means. Waking up, showing up, doing what you can, giving yourself grace when things don't go perfectly, and trying again tomorrow. So if you're going back to school feeling overwhelmed, just remember, you don't have to have everything figured out. Take it one day at a time, focus on what you can control, and don't let one bad day convince you that you're failing. School might be difficult, but you're capable of getting through it. Just keep showing up, keep moving forward, and eventually, you'll look back and realize you made it.